Good afternoon, folks. It's March 19th, 2018, and I just wanted to bring this OXFAM story to your attention if you're not aware of it already. I've actually been sitting on it because I just wanted to see if there was going to be any follow-up, and so far this has been, and this was printed this morning at about 7:30 by the fans of Theodore Dalrymple. The legalized fraud that is OXFAM, and if you're not familiar with OXFAM, has admitted it got it wrong and should have made its Haiti sex scandal public. So this is Dalrymple states he has been complaining for years that OXFAM is a criminal organization involved in orgies with underage prostitutes. He states that the orgies are a genuinely market-driven stimulus for the Haitian economy, if an extremely tasteless and immoral one. That is more that can be said for most of OXFAM's activities. You know, this begs the question, what's the market? We know who the market is. OXFAM's real aim is to provide employment to those who work for it. He also points out that they are not the only criminal in the field and may not be the worst. The field itself is criminal. I want you to pay attention to that. The entire field, this whole field, OXFAM and these organizations, they are fronts. OXFAM is a sham, and we'll get into it. Money donated to OXFAM ends up in the pockets to those who work for it, including the 888 staff at the head office in London. Now, anybody who likes to work with numbers, because I don't believe in coincidence when it comes to printed numbers in the press. 888. And actually, you know, if you look at, you know, the 8 is the symbol for infinity, but theirs is just not quite making the final loop. So, I don't know. Remember, numbers, symbols, colors are forms of communication in that realm. This is an article. I can't make out the date. Top OXFAM staff paid Haiti survivors for sex. So this goes back to probably just after when the Clintons rolled in after the hurricane of 2010. So let's actually just go to, and this, how this reads is more of an apology to their funding. They're really afraid right now of losing a lot of their funding. They admitted they got it wrong. It comes as staff involved in the investigation were given references by former employees. So basically, they're investigating themselves. Went on to work for other aid agencies who were unaware of their conduct. See, so out of the 10,000 NGOs involved in Haiti right now, you have a revolving door of abusers. OXFAM had allowed 3 men to resign and sacked 4 others for gross misconduct after they were found to have hosted Caligula-style sex parties involving Haitian prostitutes in the aftermath of the earthquake. An internal report into the incident uncovered by the Times, which was circulated in 2011, was unable to rule out that underage women had been solicited. Here's a video of the Haitian ambassador who is shocked. You know, I imagine he's shocked that they got caught. Mark Goldberg, OXFAM's chief executive, states that with hindsight, he would have much rather preferred that they had talked about sexual misconduct, but it wasn't in anyone's best interest to be describing the details of the behavior in a way that was actually going to draw extreme attention to it when what we wanted to do was get on and deliver an aid program. So, yeah, they're more concerned about their reputation and their future funding than the criminal activity that was taking place since 2010. And it goes on to state that a matter of urgency to request further information to establish greater clarity on the matter. OXFAM states that allegations that underage girls may have been involved were not proven. And with up to 10,000 NGOs working in Haiti alone in 2011, not to mention hundreds of thousands of aid workers in countries around the world, it was unfortunately not possible for OXFAM to ensure that those found guilty of sexual misconduct were not reemployed in the sector. So there's your revolving door. You know, if you get caught, they don't arrest you, they don't charge you with anything. You're just shuffled out because they're more concerned about their status quo and their NGO status, which is, you know, UN. And all this is UN, but it's all in conjunction. So this is just a big apology. The International Development Secretary Penny Mordaunt warned OXFAM will have funding withdrawn if it fails to comply with authorities. She goes on to state that she condemned the horrific behavior, utterly despicable. She's very clear that we will work with any organization that doesn't live up to their high standards and safeguarding. And so here we have the same rhetoric. The PR firm is hired to come out and just make all the right statements. But let's look at who OXFAM is. First of all, as with anything, let's look to see where they are. They're huge. They're in 90 countries. Everything green, that's OXFAM. So their reach is extensive, and I believe mostly in Africa and the Middle East. I want you to keep that in mind. So about 75%, almost 3/4 of their money comes from individuals and foundations. And we can look at very quickly, this is their 990 form, Organization of Tax Exemption, which in this period of time, April 1, 2016 to 2017, they raked in almost $95 million. States that they're based in Boston, but the article also reads that they're based in London. So I wonder if they have two main offices or they just moved in the last year. And their description is to create lasting solutions to global poverty, hunger, and injustice, you know, and liberty for all. Yeah, very, very generalized mission statements. And then here's where it gets very, Agenda 30, 2030. Remember, it's 2030 now in terms of the actual documents. And in about 2 years, the UN will come out with their plan for global sustainability into the year 2045, and so on and so forth. They're always tweaking plans. But this was interesting only in that the way they implement Agenda 2030 on the local level is they set up these Delphi meetings. And it's just basically groupthink, consensus reality. They pigeonhole you into a decision that you think you make, but they actually already had led you down. So you actually think you hadn't made a decision, but you actually didn't. And we see this here, where in Ghana, the, quote, Citizens Decide campaign successfully advocated for government to invest more mining revenue in poor communities. And here we just see examples of just the utter hypocrisy. Oxfam seeks to give poor people a voice in demanding fair and responsible natural resource management. Well, who are you to go in there and manage their resources in the first place? And of course, that's the role of the World Bank and the IMF that go in there and they, pardon the expression, they rape these countries' resources dry. And then they set up these organizations to what? Overcome the poverty and injustice that organizations like this create in the first place. So we can go back here, excuse me, a little pause. So it got me to thinking, you know what? Let's just look also, look at the revenue growth. That is staggering, creeping along, decade by decade is at the bottom. 70 to 80, not bad. 80 to 90, doubled it, almost tripled it. And then from 2000, roughly, till present day, that is exponential. Middle East, 41% Africa and the Middle East. So it got me to thinking, well, what else has exploded on the market like that? That almost has, according to the Guardian article that I found and cannot find now, I thought I bookmarked it, the most recent numbers out of Afghanistan, out of that region for opium production is 2017 figure 9,921 tons, not pounds, tons. That's an 86% increase from the time that we started, and this was widely covered, even by mainstream media, that our Marines were protecting the poppy fields from roughly 2003-4, you know, and then you have this huge explosion. Now, again, let's just go back to what Dalrymple said. OXFAM is not the only criminal in this field, and it may not be the worst. The whole field itself is criminal. Now, let's stay on that. 9,921 tons is a tremendous amount of weight to try to move. I do not think it's feasible in this day and age, given the fact that everybody and their grandmother has an HD camera and video camera on their phone. I don't think it's feasible to run a Mena, Arkansas style of drug operation. I just think somebody at some point would pop the lid, somebody would see a video, and all hell would break loose. I don't think that's feasible. So you need a whole new mode of distribution. So to me, you know, embassies are perfect nodes of distribution. First of all, ambassadors have diplomatic immunity. But let's just go on to this, because ambassadors, now these are the figurative, the celebrity and the musicians, both of whom are already MK puppets. The actors, musicians, athletes, political leaders, and other well-known faces joining the effort to end poverty. Now, keep in mind that when these said players travel and do work for these organizations, they're not traveling through your normal means. They're not going through security, airport security. They're going from car to tarmac to private jet, you know. And they might be carrying 3-4 big 50-pound suitcases, you know. You might hear that and think, oh, that's ridiculous. But it's not. It's actually a really good way to move all of that weight. So ambassadors, real ambassadors, as I said, they have diplomatic immunity. And more importantly, they're also appointed. So if you wanted to just have a little puppet in place, you would appoint someone who's already compromised or very compromisable. And, you know, that brings to mind Benghazi all over again, because what did he really know? What did he find out? Did he find out that there was a huge sexual slave ring and thousands and tens of thousands of children were being trafficked from, maybe there was a pipeline from Syria through Libya, and he had found out just who was involved, and that maybe the Clinton Foundation and some of its major players in the area may have been involved in not only the trafficking of children, but the trafficking of drugs and cash? Begs the question. So to me, when you have, and again, understand that, you know, nothing in this realm happens out of a vacuum. It's all in conjunction. The UN, you know, anytime you hear NGO, it's all UN. So OXFAM is a sham. That is for sure. How deep it goes, no one knows yet, and I don't think we're ever going to find out, because in almost all of these cases, there's never any repercussions. There will never be any repercussions. And to me, that is one of the most frustrating things, you know. And let me just say one thing. when I talk about these organizations, I try not to generalize because typically shit trickles downhill, right? Probably I'd say about 90% of the people involved in this organization who are doing really good hands-on work or thinking they are, and they are, you know, it's not them. It's it's not it's probably only about maybe 5%, the top of the true leadership who are making sure that you know business is we're open for business. So all of these organizations are all just fronts, shams for child trafficking, drug trafficking, and money laundering. And I doubt you'll hear much more about this story. So anyway, that's all I got for now. Thanks a lot for listening. Take care.